Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Denes Boros, and today I want to show you how to play typical Benoni positions. This is one example where I played a player called Bikov Egor. Let's take a look. The c5, d5. Actually, this is a better version of any type of Benoni you could get, because the bishop is not on c8 anymore. I managed to trade it off for that knight on f3. However, as per usual, in these type of structures, white has more space, but I've got a very aggressive bishop on g7, a lot like the dragon bishop. General, pressing on the b2 pawn and putting pressure on the knight. But it's not enough just to have an idea of what you're going to do. You have to decide how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. So my first idea was to go for this plan of rook b8, knight c7, b5, the most logical one. Bishop e2, a very good move, actually trying to play against this move and planning to stop it. Knight c7, f4. Very committal decision, but a dangerous one, as a black is going to have to face and think about ideas such as f5 and e5 breaks. a6, I'm still not worried, because if white goes f5, I can go knight e5, get a very good knight on that square, and even promote the idea of b5. For example, of queen d2, b5, c takes, ab, and there'll be plenty of jumps, even b4s, to lure that knight away. My opponent naturally chose to go for a4, stopping that push. And now I was at a crossroads. What to do? b5 definitely doesn't really work, because if I go there, there's plenty full of captures, and white is just much better and up a pawn. Simply said, up a pawn. So instead I decided to go for e6, which is a pawn sacrifice in itself, however is a typical move in the Benoni structure. Now, possibly white could have gone something like bishop f3, e takes, c takes, b5, and then we get a typical Benoni where I have very good play, as my bishop is super open and I don't have the c8 bishop. If e takes d5, I would go rook e8, and my position is fairly comfortable. Probably white can move the bishop away. But important to note, queen d2 would be a mistake due to rook takes c3. And after queen takes c3, there's bishop d4, skewering the queen and king over there, and it's just game over. So if you take, and you're just down a whole queen. Now my opponent played the principled move of d takes e6, knight takes e6, queen d6, winning the pawn. However, in return, I get a very good square on d4, which provides compensation. Bishop d4, trying to trade off this strong bishop. If trades, I can go knight d4, and because of the strength of this knight and a shaky queen on d8, black has good play. My opponent played knight d5. Now this is the moment you should be stopping this video, pause it a little bit, and wonder what I played in this position. In fact, the queen is somewhat vulnerable. Now I can't really go after it with rook c8 because of knight e7 check, and I lose material. However, I realize, this knight, even though aggressive, has to defend that bishop. So take a little bit of a pause, think of the situation, and think about ways how you can undermine that knight on d5. Good luck. Hope you had a good time actually checking it out and wondering how to undermine the pony. And I actually played knight b6, which it looks like a temporary sacrifice, but it isn't. Because if white takes on b6, well, white has 1 and 2 attacking, I have only 1 attacker, I'm still the one winning, because after bishop takes e3, I skewer the rook and the king, and if you take there, I take that queen with a swing. And of course, if you move here, I trade the ladies, and I take the rook. This is obviously just losing for white. So my opponent decided to take on d8 instead. Rook takes d8. Of course, knight takes b6 still doesn't work due to this check. So white decided to take on d4. Knight takes d4. Still working for me brilliantly, because if you take the piece, I take a piece as well, but it's also a check, and I'm also winning a rook. The opponent played bishop g4, knight takes a4. And actually you can see how the position shifted. I started off with down a pawn, but now I have a good piece in the center and the pawn is back. Not to mention, there's still plenty of weaknesses in Bykov's position. Bishop g4, f5, h5, making sure the bishop goes back. Bishop d1, then I yoink the pawn. King g7, king h6. It looks visual that my king is going to get trapped, but not really, because the king is going to escape, and I might even put pressure on the f6 pawn, which is somewhat isolated from the white camp. Bishop f3, knight d3, trying to control that important square, which might become important once I start pushing my c pawn. b5 takes, knight e5, centralizing, also defending my pawns. Not to mention I'm also pressing the g4 pawn and the f3 bishop. Takes, king g5, surprisingly safe spot for my king, where it hits that pawn and puts pressure on the f6 one as well. f2, c4, it's time to push the pawn down, knight d5. Now again, there is such a thing as technique, and here I decided this knight is just way too strong, and it just gives too much compensation for Bykov. So I decided to do the exchange sacrifice, give up my rook for the knight, but because I already have connected passed pawns, my position should be good enough for a sacrifice such as this. Rook a1, c3, the pawn is running down. You can note that this knight is a very good defender, guarding that pawn, so there's f7, f6, f6, f7, and f8 is never really an option. Bishop c2, b4, running those pawns down. Knight takes, rook d2. Obviously trade would be great for me because with those two pawns this is a winning position. White avoids that. Knight d3, check, takes g4. And here my opponent resigned because if you go rook a1, I can just go c2 and promotion is unstoppable. So in this position, Bykov resigned for that reason. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, do consider liking and subscribing to this YouTube channel. And do let me know if you have any thoughts below in the comment section. And without any further ado, have a great day or night wherever you are. Goodbye.